Aloha, everyone. It is March 26th, 2025. This is Kim Ann Curtin, the Wall Street coach, doing my almost weekly live coaching sessions. I try to give away 2 hot seats every week. Some weeks I have people who take them, some weeks I don't. And I do this to try to be a contribution back to the community. Not everybody can afford coaching, so this is my way of helping out those who aren't in a position yet to invest in it. So if anybody is here that would like to get some hot seat speed coaching, just raise your hand. Let me know. I'm going to give this invite right now so that you can just click it. You'll come into the green room, which means I'll be alerted that you're there, and then I can turn you on and I can take your question. Now, for those shy introverts that are out there, you guys can also send a question right here into wherever you're watching from. I have this connected to X, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, anywhere else. I think that replays. I don't know. There's so many today. It's hard to keep track. TikTok. I don't think it's on TikTok yet. So feel free to just put your question in the comments. And if you can, then just send a DM because I'll keep X open as well so I can keep an eye on any of those questions. I am, let's see here. Maybe that didn't take, I don't know. It's frustrating sometimes how tricky these things all are. But, you know, we're doing the best we can here, people. We're doing the best we can. Anyway, I hope your week is going well. Ultimately, what are these in service to? They truly are in service to your trading and your mindset around trading. Who am I? My name is Kim, obviously. I've been coaching for 18 years, and I started in finance 10 years, almost 10 years before that. So that's 28 years in finance. My initial focus as a coach was C-suite level executives, but a lot of those were retail traders in hedge funds and whatnot. And of course, just, leaders of all sorts, but usually at the C-suite level. That was where I worked before I started the coaching practice that I have now. And since then, I've, coached outside the stock exchange in 2008 during the banking crisis. And a reporter did an article about me, calling me the Wall Street coach. That's where that came from. And, I've had it now probably, since 2008. And trademarked it since. So who have I coached? What kind of coaching do I do? I have coached, from hedge funds managers, traders at hedge funds, sovereign wealth fund leaders. I've coached prop firm leaders. I've coached 7 and 8 figure traders, mid and large cap executives, and also fintech CEOs. I've worked with just countless people, pretty much every industry. But finance is my sweet spot because I've been in that industry for so long. I understand the pressure. And the day trading community really, even though I had traders that had started their, managed their own money and traded their own money over the years, over those 18 years, really the last 5 to 6, 7 years started to be more focused on day traders because of the Steady Trade podcast. They hired me to be a co-host and producer for that show. And that began to just bring me more in contact with many, many, many more day traders. And that's why, now that has, been kind of my focus with doing these lives. So ultimately what I do is I come into these conversations with a topic until somebody volunteers and says, hey, Kim, I want some free coaching. I also have a phone number where traders can leave a voicemail if they want me to address a certain issue. I'll give you that phone number now for the next time if you want to use it because you don't want to come on publicly. That phone number is 646-828-7736. It's basically a place you can go to vent. I call it Trader Vent. And what is that for? That's for you to get it off your chest. And Why is that important? Because a lot of times, in my experience, having talked to countless traders, they usually are not very comfortable feeling the feelings of disappointment, frustration, anger, grief. Uh, all of those are feelings that one needs to learn how to feel, to express oneself. We need, I think, the biggest kind of cultural poison is that especially men, women too, but more so men, are taught to not allow their feelings to come up and out. As if men, it's only culturally acceptable, it seems to me, that men are allowed to have the feeling of anger. I don't really see any other emotion being kind of allowed for men culturally. Like, you guys are demonized if you have any other emotion other than anger. It's almost like, you're not, the vibe from the culture is you're not a man if you have these other feelings, which is the furthest thing from the truth, and sets a lot of guys up for numbing themselves and denying their feelings and keeping them locked in. And the thing about feelings is they stay stuck inside of us if we don't feel them. And this goes for men and women. You have to learn how to allow them. We have to learn how to feel them, which can be very brand new for most people. It certainly was for me when I started to do the work on my own self. And the reason I became a coach is I hired a coach and had an absolutely life-changing experience. And because of the unusual, life I had as a kid growing up, I had to get a lot of tools. And that is ultimately what I see coaching as. It is a facilitation of providing you tools to learn how to better self-regulate. What most traders are in the trap of with regards to the self-sabotage is they haven't learned how to feel their feelings, how to allow those feelings to be felt without being, hijacked by them, and then knowing how to regulate them, how to regulate their nervous system, and then release them. And so when any trader is constantly finding themselves in a loop, you keep doing the same thing over and over again, even though you promised yourself you would never do it again. It is an indicator that you are stuck. Records, you probably have, and most of the people here never grew up with records, but when we were kids, when I had a record, if there it was a scratch on the record, it would skip, right? A lot of times that's what's happening for you guys. You guys are skipping and you're repeating and repeating the same behavior because you haven't learned how to, first of all, feel the feeling, have it come and process through, and then learn how to regulate it, and then learn how to release it. And until you learn how to do this, you're not going to be able to get yourself out of that loop. That is the key. You want out of that repetition, out of that loop. Hi, Liz. I'm so glad you're here. Good to see you. Good to see you. All right. I've also put out a couple of invitations to see if we have anybody coming in here to join us. So let me just quickly check my DMs, but it doesn't look like that's the case. I won't say who I invited just to give people privacy. All right, so let's see. So I have a couple of topics today, but first I'm going to pause. I couldn't get Instagram to stream today. Frustrates the hell out of me. But if anybody here wants to have some coaching, please let me know. And just raise your hand. There's the link. Let me, in fact, put that link for those who are watching here on X, so you guys have that link too. I'm not sure if that link shows up. I'm not sure that it does. So let me just put this link right here so that you got, is that the right one? Let's see if that's right. I'm not sure that that's the right link. Let me just take this copy. Let me just take it here. Copy that. All right. So I have a couple of topics today. If I don't get any volunteers, I always try to come in with a couple of topics. Let's see here. Let me just get this thing up so I can focus on one thing at a time. If you guys haven't had a chance, you do want to go listen to my podcast with Dr. Michael Platt. He was on, of course, he was on Andrew Huberman's podcast about a month ago. That is a 4-hour conversation that's very profound. Highly recommend you guys consider that. But the reason I'm recommending you watch my podcast is because it is specifically about being a day trader and how to navigate what is happening for you based on neuroscience. So he has an incredible book called The Leader's Brain. And that book, let me just make sure I get that title right here. I want to, The Leader's Brain. Yep, I got it right. All right, so this book is his book. And you guys, like, this book is covered with notes and fold outs because there's so much good stuff in it. It's going to just be able to help you as a trader better manage your brain so that you can function as a trader much more successfully. So I really recommend you check out that conversation with Dr. Platt, specifically because he's addressing the issues that traders do go through. I'm asking him questions specifically for what you guys are navigating. And I think the way he answers those questions are very informative that you can apply to your own trading right away. So I strongly recommend you watch that podcast. It just dropped yesterday. Okay, what else did I want to speak to today? There was a great interview that I want to speak to with a gentleman who is a famous runner whose name is, I'm going to try to say it, but I'm probably going to butcher it, so please forgive me. But he is somebody that I've followed for years, and he is known as the smiling runner. Like, that is what he is known for. Let me just see here. Looks like Jason Shapiro is in the house. I'm so happy. Hi, Jason. I just turned you on, Jason. Can you hear me?
I hear you. Do you hear me?
I hear you, but I don't see you. But
no, my camera won't be working. I'm having some technical camera issues this week, but
no big deal. How the hell are you? I'm so glad you're here. I wasn't sure if you could make it. How's everything?
Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah?
Yeah, can't complain.
Okay, good. So Jason Shapiro, everybody, if you guys don't know Jason Shapiro, I'm curious what rock you're living under. But let me just tell you a little bit about Jason. Of course, his handle on Twitter or X is crowded_MKT_RPT. If you're not following him, please go and follow him right now. Crowded Market Report is, of course, what Jason's known for. He put out a tweet just a few minutes before this that talked about all the good lessons in today's market. So I said, Jason, come on in and give us a recap. He also has a post-market video that he's going to be making public. So I thought he'd give us all a little teaser if he was willing. And apparently he is.
Yeah, I do these daily recap videos, and once a week we make them public. So usually we do it on Thursday, but I did it today just because I thought there's some good lessons in today's market.
Yeah. Well, what were some of them, Jason? What do you feel are, like, especially just, obviously I'm always talking about mindset, but what do you feel are the most important lessons you did see today?
So there were 3 that I really focused on. One, I would say, like, I don't know how many people trade commodities. Most people probably trade stocks or stock indices, but you had this move in copper today, for example, where it had a big move up last night because they came out and said they were going to do tariffs on copper. And that move up ended up being the high of the day. And that's just such a classic, like, trade. They say buy the rumor, sell the fact, right? And there's a reason why people say that. And today was the perfect example of that, right? You're not going to buy an asset that's been going straight up for 3 months on rumors of tariffs. And then when tariffs hit, buy that breakout. Like, that's not the kind of breakout you want to buy. The market's a discounting mechanism. They've been discounting in the tariffs for 3 months. You're not going to wait. The person who waited for the news to actually hit is not the person that's going to have a high probability of making money, right?
Yep. And
Um,
who would that be, Jason? Describe the kind of person that would make that mistake.
People that I think don't understand the discounting mechanism of markets, which is a lot of people. Say, hey, I saw the news. They're going to put tariffs on copper. I'm going to buy it. That makes sense.
Right.
But the markets don't make sense because the
Right.
markets discount what makes sense way before it ever makes sense, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So I thought,
How do you explain that to those who, like, I would hope most of the traders that are in this conversation do know this, but what do you ever try to articulate this to somebody who doesn't get it? How have you explained it when you've had the patience even to?
no, we talk about this stuff all the time, like on our
Yeah.
Discord and stuff, but
Yeah.
um, I try in these daily videos that I do to point out lifetime examples of this stuff,
Yeah.
which is
Yep.
why I made the one public today because I thought it was such an obvious one. That's really the only way people are going to look. They're not going to say, oh, well, Jason Shapiro said it, so I'm going to listen. You know what I mean?
Right.
But if you see it as it goes on in lifetime, then it can start to sort of peg in your mind.
Yep.
Another
What?
one I talk about all the time is this idea, and you got to understand, I've been sitting here in front of these screens now for, I don't know, longer than I care to admit, 35 years or something.
Not quite, but if I
No,
feel like
35
that.
years. I'm 58. What's 58 minus 35?
It's a lot. It's
You
not
know,
quite 75 years, but it's in that neighborhood.
I started trading when I was 21. So, on my
Yeah.
screen, I have I'm not an intraday trader. I have been in the past,
Yeah.
but I'm not anymore. But I still on my screen have three things up: three intraday charts: the Nasdaq, the S&P, and the Dow.
Mm,
And I watched the 5 minute sort of ticker.
yep.
Um, and one thing that I have picked up watching that every day is that very often, not always, because nothing is always, as we know,
Yep.
very often, um, the Nasdaq will lead the market, right? The Nasdaq has the higher volatility stocks. It is the higher beta index, right?
Yep.
So if you watch, you can see that it'll go like Nasdaq, S&P is the second higher beta, and Dow is the least beta or volatility. And so you can see on days when, let's say the Nasdaq is the strongest index, and the S&P is the second strongest, and the Dow is the third strongest. That's telling you that's like a trend day up. That's what should happen. The higher beta stuff is stronger
Yep.
than the lower beta stuff, and that's like a trend day up, and that's a good day to try and trade from the long side. And the truth is also on the other side, like today, where the Nasdaq is the weakest index, the S&P is the second weakest index, and the Dow is the third weakest index. That's a trend day down, as it should be. And that's a good day to try and short. Now, there's days when the Nasdaq will be the strongest, the S&P will be the weakest, the Dow will be in the middle. And that's just a day when that's not telling you anything, right? And those I have found are good days to just not get involved. But you also get days, let's say, where the market's down, but all of a sudden the Nasdaq will be down the least, the S&P will be down the second least, and the Dow will be down the most. And those are days when a lot of times the markets turn around because the higher beta stuff is not leading the market down. It's lagging, so to speak, the market down. And those are days when the markets will reverse a lot. And again, today was the perfect example. That yesterday also was an example of that, where the Nasdaq was the strongest index the whole day. The market did try to sell off a couple of times yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
In the end of the day, it ended strong, and that would have kept you at the very least from trying to short yesterday. Because the Nasdaq's the strongest index. It's telling me that the market's strong. It would have kept you from trying to short. And if you had shorted yesterday, you had a tough time because even though it tried to go down a few times, it kept bouncing back up. And today was the same thing. The Nasdaq led down the whole day. So if you were trying to buy today, you didn't have the support of that type of thing. And both yesterday and today, and there's many days, I'd say 70% of the days where you can observe this. It can keep you out of trouble, and it can help you to intraday trade these things anyway, because you're going with so-called the trend, or like I say on these reversal days, You can say, hey, this market's down a lot, but the NASDAQ all of a sudden is the strongest index. That's where I'm going to try and buy the down move here. That works a lot. I can tell you that works a lot. And you can use that for a lot of different things, even if you're not intraday trading necessarily, but you're looking at other things. You're like, okay, let's take that last example. There's a high probability here, according to this, that the market's going to rebound today. Well, what does that mean for my bond position or my dollar position or my whatever position? I look at the correlations between these things, and it can sort of help you do those things too.
Yeah.
A million ways that can help you. And then the third thing that really came up, this is a personal one.
Yeah.
And one that I am guilty of all the time, including now. But I've been watching the yen very closely these days because I have a position in yen, and I'm short yen because my process says short yen. That's it. That's the only reason I do any trade. My process says this is it. I have it on. But then I start to justify it. You know what I mean? Okay, I'm short yen. What does that mean? Well, the yen has this negative correlation to the stock market. So therefore, if the stock market starts to go up here, the yen should go down. So my risk is if the stock market goes down, the yen could go up, right?
Yep.
And the truth is, there've been, since I put that trade on a couple of weeks ago, a couple times where it just wasn't the case. The stock market went up, the yen should go down. The yen didn't go down; it went up.
Wow.
So I could look at that and be like, "Oh, gee, is that telling me something? Maybe I should get out of this position." And if I did that, I'd be wishing I didn't, because the yen is now on lows from when I got in. There have been some hairy days against me, but it's on lows now. So if I had gotten out of it anywhere, I would have regretted it. Yesterday, the stock market was up and the yen was up. And I'm like, well, what the hell? I sit here, I say it to myself, I write it down, right? I say to myself, look, if this is a trade, I might as well just get long stocks then, right? If it's going to be so correlated to long stocks, why don't I just get long the stock indices? Well, what happened today? On the back of yesterday, stocks being up, the yen's supposed to go down, but it didn't. It went up. Okay, so I lost money. Today, stocks went down and the yen went down. It was supposed to go up. It went down. So the point is, there's so much randomness involved, right? I could have said to myself yesterday, well, geez, if the yen's not going to go down when stocks are going up, well, then why don't I just get long stocks and forget this yen position? And what would have happened today? I would have gotten killed on my stock long position, and I wouldn't have made money on my yen position, and I would be kicking myself, right? Not because I lost money necessarily, but because I got off process because I overthought the whole thing and convinced myself to get off process.
Yep.
And that's the killer. For me, at least, that's the killer. I can accept losing money. And how long I've been doing this? You know how many down days I've had? Countless. Okay. I can accept that. But, what's very unacceptable for me is to get off process and lose money. Then that's the days that I don't lose sleep because I had a down day.
Right.
I lose sleep because I get off my process and miss out on what was supposed to be. So I think that was at least for me, again, a very valuable lesson. That's why I kind of like to make these videos as well, and my newsletter for that matter. Is it keeps putting these ideas in my mind.
Yes.
That I constantly need. I've been doing this for how many years, and I still constantly need this reaffirmation of stick with. There's a reason why you spent all this time getting to this process. Okay.
Totally.
So stop stop justifying reasons to get off process, because and the worst thing is you do that and it actually works, because now you're getting you're getting some really bad lessons, right?
Totally. 100%. But did you say that your practice, you said you write it down? So that feels to me like you are trying to be very conscious to the fact that you're being tempted.
Oh, there's no question. It's exactly what I'm doing. I literally sit here and write these things down that I want to do, that I won't do, but I write them down. Yesterday, I wrote it down. Why don't I just do long stocks and forget this yen thing? Right? If the yen's only going to go down because stocks are going up, well, then why don't I just get long stocks?
Totally.
I wrote that down yesterday.
So
Didn't do
powerful.
it. Didn't do it. And now
it's allowing you to process. And that at the start of this, what I was saying, Jason, is that I feel so many traders don't allow themselves the feelings they're having. They don't learn how to feel them, and therefore they can't regulate them and then release them. Your writing it down is that process in 3D.
No, that's what it is, because it's so hard. That's the bottom line. Trading, trying to figure out the market's going up or down or whatever, that's hard. But that's actually the easy part.
Totally.
As hard as that is,
Totally.
that's the easier part.
Yeah.
Than the rest of this stuff. Than
Yep.
trying to stay disciplined, trying not to make these stupid mistakes. You can't afford them, because trying to do the first part is so hard that when you do get it right, you can't afford to screw that up, because
Totally.
you know what I mean. It's so rare that you can actually get into a great risk reward situation, right? When you're in one, you gotta stick with it. So.
And just your point about how even after all these decades that you've been doing it, you are still being tempted. And I think for anybody under 5 years or under a decade needs to hear, if this veteran, one of Schweiker's unknown market wizards, is being tempted, who the hell are you to think you're not going to be tempted?
We're all human beings.
Exactly.
I don't care if you're in Jack Schwager's Market Wizards. You know what I mean? It doesn't make a difference. We are all human beings.
Totally.
And we all are subject to the same, as everybody always says, fear and greed, right? We're all subject to that, right?
Yeah.
And therefore we have to consistently regulate it, right? It's like working out, which I don't particularly do, but if you want to stay in shape, right? You got to work out every day or every other day, or it has to be a consistent thing,
Totally.
Because it never is just going to take care of itself. Our brains are consistently fighting. The market is so designed in a way to screw you up that, because of your human emotions, right?
Totally.
And you're not going to be able to get rid of your human emotions. You're a human, right?
Totally.
So you have to somehow have something going on where you're training yourself. And I think that writing stuff down, and like I say, I have this newsletter that goes out every week.
Yes. Talk about it.
Before I ever did that, that newsletter was nothing but my notes to myself for 20 years. That's how it became a newsletter. People were like, "Oh, can you show me what you do?" And I was like, "Here, I'll send you what I freaking do every week. And you can read it and read my thoughts and see what I do." Right.
Totally.
And the idea is not read my thoughts because I'm a market guru.
Right.
The idea is see what I go through so that you can hopefully go through that yourself so that you can improve on what you're doing. Right. I never started this thing, or this thing was never started meant to be like a tip sheet. Like, oh, Jason Shapiro, he says buy, I'm going to buy, or he says sell, I'm going to sell. That's never going to work. Right. Totally. It's meant as a learning device. This is what I've done to learn. So hopefully it can help you to learn as well, So
tell people how they sign up for that, Jason.
Oh, it's right on our website, crowdedmarketreport.com.
Perfect.
I would suggest, we've got all these YouTube videos, and I would suggest before signing up, going through there,
totally,
and seeing if what I'm doing makes sense to people, and if that's what they want. We've had a number of people come on that I think signed up for the wrong reasons.
That makes sense. Yep.
And that's not worth doing. It's not very it's not very expensive for it, but that's not worth doing. And if people are coming on there thinking, "Oh, I'm going to have this market wizard tell me what I should buy and sell," that's not really the thing to do. I do show what I am doing, what my positions are, where I'm buying, where I'm selling things, but that's more from the point of view of, here, have a look at what I'm doing. And how I'm reacting to that, and how my psychology is working with that, and how I am hopefully sticking to my process come hell or high water. And when I don't, let's all watch Jason Shapiro, the Market Wizard, screw it up. You know what I mean? So
totally.
That can help you learn as well. That the Mr. Market Wizard, also screws up just like all of us. And we have to move on from that as well. You know?
100%. And that is part of what, I've appreciated about you from the very beginning. Even the interview in Unknown Market Wizard's book, when I read your section with Jack, I was just like, this guy's the real. He's just totally authentic. But you are healing so many traders because you are somebody who is in a Jack Schwager book. And you're also still speaking to how hard it can be. I don't think enough traders who get to the level you've gotten to talk that much about how hard it still is after all the decades. And this just feels like such a gift to the community that you are so straightforward. You came onto my live a long time ago, and I still have traders talk about that episode and how vulnerable you are and honest you are about the stuckness you felt you were in the midst of. So I just feel like that
I
just
mean,
brings it
who am I
real.
lying to at this point in my life? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not, you know, this whole thing was started not by me. It was started by somebody who approached me
That's right.
asking for help.
Yep.
And I told him that I would like to help him, but I was getting a lot of those because of Jack's book is so popular. I was getting a lot of those requests.
Yep.
And I can't sit here and help, 300 people at the same time. I have a job, I have a family. And he was like, okay, well, what about if I start a web page and you can centralize it there? So that was kind of how it was started. It wasn't, and I didn't know
That's
what
right.
it would become, and I didn't really have any goals, or I just figured let's do it and get it out there. And
Totally.
if it can help some people, it can help some people, and that'd be great. So I don't have anything to lie about. This is not where I make my income, quite frankly. I make my income managing money. So, it's just, as you know, I think you get older. Not that you are, but I am.
No, I'm getting older there, Jason,
You're
too.
still, you're still young and gorgeous, but I am becoming an old man. And, you get to a point where at 58, you think a lot differently than you thought at 30. At 30, I could give a flying crap, right?
Yep.
All I cared about was how much Jason Shapiro could make, right? Um,
Yeah.
as you
It's
get older,
so
you
true.
start thinking a little bit differently. I have enough money at this point, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
how can you sort of, give back, right?
Yep.
I had people help me
Yep.
when I was starting out that didn't need to help me, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Helmut Weimer, who was the founder of Commodities Corporation, was a mentor to me,
Wow.
and he was already in his 70s by that point, and a very rich man, and he didn't need to help me. He didn't have any, you know what I mean? But
I do.
he,
How did that start? How did that mentorship begin, by the way?
you won't believe it if I tell you, but I'll tell you.
I'm dying to know. Remind me. I don't know if you ever shared that with me.
I'll share. Well, yeah, I was living in the Princeton area at the time,
Okay.
and I had just gotten, I would call it, fired from a job, and my wife wanted to divorce me. I was a loser. I couldn't hold a job. I didn't have any money. You know what I mean? I had all these friends who were making all kinds of money. People who had actually worked for me in the past. Had big jobs, and I was a loser, and we were going to get divorced. I went to a divorce lawyer in the Princeton area. He asked me what I did. I said I'm a trader. He asked me if I knew Helmut Weimer. I said I did not know him, but I knew of him because he was featured in Jack's first book. And he said, oh, my wife is best friends with his wife. And I said, that's great. If you want to be my divorce lawyer, your wife is going to call Helmut's wife and get me a seat.
You gotta be kidding.
Yeah. And the next day, I was sitting in Helmut's office in what was then the Commodities Corporation offices. And within a month, he had actually he funded an account that I started to manage, and became a big mentor to me.
Jason,
And when I say mentor too, it wasn't even like he was a mentor in trading necessarily. He was never telling me how to trade.
Yeah.
But he was a mentor kind of just really by the way that he lived his life and the way that he approached life,
Wow.
and how generous he was with other people and how generous he was with his time.
Yeah. Yep. 100%. That just speaks volumes. And how can it not translate into how one trades? Like, that's why I say how you do one thing is how you do everything.
No, that's right. That's right. It's all part of the same the same psychology.
Wow, that is an incredible, incredible story, Jason. That one takes the cake.
Yeah, it was weird. 'Cause the funny thing was, I actually interviewed a Commodities Corp years before that. It was probably 10 years before that, and they didn't hire me.
Oh my God. But maybe you just weren't ready. Like, I swear, I
You
think
know,
so.
somebody said that to me. My good friend said that to me
Yeah,
at that time, right when Helmut started to help me out and all that. And he said, you know, when the student's ready, the teacher will appear.
100%. 100%. And it just, but how bodacious of you to say that to this attorney. You want me
I mean,
fired?
you got to understand, I was out of work and out of money.
Oh my God. And now you
So
got to pay for a divorce lawyer and give some money over.
yeah, I couldn't even have afforded that. You know, I didn't even get divorced at that. I did get divorced maybe 5 years later, but I
Jeez.
didn't even get divorced at that time.
Wow, that's even more extraordinary that you walked in there then in the first place. And it didn't even, wow, that
Yeah,
is a
I
story.
couldn't have afforded that attorney anyway. I literally, I was so broke at that time. It was, I can't even tell you.
It's just, seasons of our lives. They just, it's, it's really quite something. That is a
Weird
hell of
things,
a story.
weird things happen. That's
Weird
for
things
sure.
happen. Weird things happen. But like, you don't ask, you don't get.
Oh
I
no!
mean,
Once he said that his wife was best friends with Helmut's wife, I was like, you know, there's no way.
totally.
There's no
That was
way.
like a red carpet for
No,
you to.
there's no way I'm not getting that meeting. I had never even thought of it. I knew Commodities Corporation was in Princeton. You know, I could have gone and banged on their door or something, but I never even, I didn't even think of it.
Wow, that is crazy. I'm about to put out a book of a memoir of my 93-year-old paddling coach, who's like a Hawaiian Ernest Hemingway. And just a couple of weeks ago, I was like, we should have The Rock, write the foreword to get this book out there, right? And like, I'm trying to figure out how to get to The Rock right now, Jason. And my one friend is like, you probably won't get him. And I was like, yeah, but if I don't ask, I won't get.
That's a fact.
Right? It's like, you gotta be. You're in Rhode Island? Are you in Rhode Island?
I
Right.
am in Rhode Island.
Rhode Island. So New York State, I don't know. I think sometimes you guys know this, but New York State, this is one of the things I miss hearing all the time. Their lottery, it says you gotta be in it to win it. And I just feel that is the same for trading. Like you gotta be in it to win it. You got to be constantly looking at yourself, asking yourself those really honest questions to be able to create whatever you want to create. Not literally in it, but like you got to play the game. You got to risk striking out. You got to ask your attorneys to have his wife introduce you to somebody. Like you were in it that day.
I mean, I've never been shy. I've been called a lot of things, but shy is not necessarily one of them. I do think that you have to be in it to win it. I get a little bit, quite frankly, frustrated with some people that I know.
Yeah.
Sometimes and I'm not saying that people should take the path that I took,
Yeah.
because I think the path that I took was probably unnecessarily difficult,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think you need to go to that extreme. But you know, I know people that have these shitty jobs and they hate them, and I'm like, well, what are you waiting for?
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand, man. Like, this is your one shot, dude. You know,
Totally.
like,
100%.
and it's not even, if it'd be one thing, everyone has a price, you
Yeah,
know.
for sure.
My brother is a lawyer. He doesn't like it very much, but he makes a shitload of money.
Yeah.
Okay, I can kind of understand that. But I have friends who make shit money
Yeah.
and sit in a shit job,
Yep. I know.
and they are bitching all the time that they never get to go on vacation and they never get to do this and they never get to do that. And I'm like, I
Yeah.
just don't know what you're waiting for. Like, you have nothing to lose, you know. You're not making. You got a shitty job and you're making shit money anyway. So what's the difference?
Totally.
get any job and make shit money. At least do something that you enjoy, or at least something that you see can be growth. This one guy, he's had this shit job for 30 years. I mean, literally, just the worst job.
Jeez.
And he makes the crappiest money, and he's into beer and craft beer. I'm like, he makes craft beer in his basement. I'm like, well, why don't you? He can't open up his own craft brewery because he doesn't have enough money. I'm like, but why don't you go and work for a craft brewery?
Totally.
Okay, they don't pay a lot, but neither is your current job.
Exactly.
So what's the difference? And then you'll be in the business that you like, and then you never know who you're going to meet.
Correct.
You're not going to meet anybody doing what you're doing that's going to get you into the craft brewery business. So it's hard. It's hard. But it's like you say, you got to be in it to win it.
Yep.
Um,
Do you have other practices, Jason, that in addition to writing down your, that bringing that experience that you had over going completely against your position helps you stay true to your position? Or I presume on occasion you change your mind. What are the other practices you use to allow yourself to feel the feelings and then regulate them and then let them go? Is there other ones that you lean into besides kind of writing down that thought in the moment?
My kids are grown. I have a wife that I live with, who my second wife, who I love very much, and we have a great relationship. Outside of that, I have nothing else. This is what I do all the time. Okay, I have one hobby. I play guitar. That's it, right?
Yeah.
That's it. This is all I do. So you ask me, are there other things that I do? My entire consciousness is about this, right? I will not go against my process. I will not do it. And does it still to this day take the discipline of, sometimes writing things down and yes, but I will not, because I think about that all the time. It's on my mind all the time. Anytime I even think of doing it, I just sit here. Don't do it, dude. Don't do it. Don't do it. Here, write it down. Do something that you have to do to get it. Write it in my weekly thing. Write it in there. Okay.
Yep.
And I fill my weekly thing up with stuff like that all the time. I always say, never trade macro. That's one of my things, right? I don't trade macro. Do I understand economics? I think I do. I went to school for it. I enjoy it. It's one of the most interesting subjects to me in the world. But I would never trade off of it because I can't make money trading off of it. But I'll fill my newsletter up with what I see as the macro stuff. It's a great outlet. Hey, look, here's the macro stuff and the tariffs and the this, and here's what I think about the politics and the blah, 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 blah. It's wonderful. It's a great little outlet for me to write all that stuff down and write my whole global economic thesis that's going to win me the Nobel Prize in economics one day. You know what I mean?
Totally.
But it has nothing to do with my trading.
Yeah.
But it's a great outlet for those
beautiful
stuff.
It's beautiful. It's a discharge of your intellect, your creative. I always say that traders don't get their basic needs met. And because they don't get them met, they try to get them met in their trading, which is where it's so costly. And it sounds to me like you are just masterful at getting your needs met so that you don't try to get them met through your trading. And by writing all of that, that's your creativity, that's your, genius, that's your thoughts. But you don't you get those needs met by writing it in that weekly newsletter, but you don't let it influence your trading. I mean, it's brilliant.
You have to be able to separate it, because it's not what I have learned, at least for me.
Yep.
Okay. And I'm not saying this isn't true for everybody, but for me, I don't make money doing that. If I don't make money trading, then I don't have a job. So I can't cross those two things, right? I have to make money trading. Otherwise, it's all, it's all useless, right? I can't worry about being right or wrong. I can't be pointing to look at what a great economist I am, and therefore, I got the economy all right. You can get the economy 100% right and still get the markets wrong. Happens all the time, right?
Totally. That's the most profound scene from that movie that Michael Lewis did The Big Short, right?
Yeah.
Because we're watching Christian. What's the actor's name that played Bates? Right? He's like he's right, but he's on the brink of destruction.
Yes. No, that's right. And you can't. I say it all the time. Be wrong, make money.
Yes, that should be a bumper sticker for every trader.
We have that. I have the T-shirts. Be
You
wrong,
do?
make money. Like, yeah, like I don't. We have 2 T-shirts at our place that our guys like to wear. One is "Be wrong, make money,"
God,
and one is "Don't trade, fade."
so good. So good. Be wrong, make money is the best I have. I gotta get that T-shirt, man.
Hit up my man Housen. He'll get it to you.
Oh, damn well.
But
That's
you
it.
know that's the hard thing to accept with
Yeah.
this, especially when you come into this, because people that aren't involved in this and haven't been involved in this for a long time
Yeah.
have the impression that, like my brother, for example,
Yeah.
once in a while he'll talk to me about the market or whatever, and I'll say something, and he'll call me up a month later and tell me how wrong I was. I'm like, I know, I killed it. He's like, well, how the hell did you kill it? You were totally wrong. I'm like, because I don't care if I'm right or wrong.
Exactly.
A lot of the times I'm saying shit just to get it out so that I can be wrong. I'd rather be wrong telling my brother
Totally.
than lose money in the markets, right?
Exactly.
And people don't get that, you know what I mean? The ego thing and all that, right? People don't get that, and that's what's so hard about trading.
Yeah.
Really, that's one of the things that's so hard psychologically about trading, is you have to get that ego thing out of your mind.
Yep. Yep. And do you feel like that is what drives the traders who, I just see a lot of traders who come from other walks of life, either academia or, being an executive someplace in a company, that those are the ones that get crushed the most because their egos can't handle the be wrong part.
One guy said to us, guy on my Discord was telling us a story. He's a broker, and he brokes to some hedge funds. And he said he had this client who was a younger kid in his early 20s that worked at this hedge fund. And he was a superstar at Harvard and Wharton and all that stuff.
Yep.
And he was having trouble making money in the markets. And he said to the guy, the reason I'm having trouble is because I'm so much smarter than everybody else that I see things before everybody else does. So I'm so early to these trades all the time because I'm so smart that I see it before the market does. So therefore he's early to the trades because he sees it before the market does. Okay, good for you, smart guy. You know what I mean? Meanwhile, I'm dumb as shit. Okay, I failed out of junior high school or whatever. You know what I mean? Who would you rather be? I mean, as a trader,
Exactly.
You're trying to be the guy that makes money, not the guy who is too smart so that he loses money because he's too early, because he's so smart he sees everything before everybody else, right?
Totally.
That's such a justification, right?
100%.
And
100%.
so, yeah, that's what hurts those people. I used to, when I was younger, I thought I was smarter than everybody, and it never got me anywhere. If you think you're smarter than everybody, go be a professor.
Exactly. Go and practice how smart you are. And if
Yes.
you can make a living from that, go do it. But you probably aren't going to make a living as a trader.
Yeah, if that's your edge, if your edge is that you're so much smarter than everybody, well, then go work at Caltech. You can make a hell of a living. You make a great living there, right? And go work on projects with rockets and whatever the hell those people do, But don't do this, because this game will kill you in that situation.
Be wrong, make money. All right, Jason. So we talked about where they can sign up for your newsletter. What is your YouTube channel as well?
That's a good question. I don't really.
Curveball.
I don't run this show, but here, let me see. Let me
That's
get
okay. That's okay. Put
There
that.
it is.
Put
It's Crowded Market Report. I think if you just go on Crowded Market Report on YouTube,
Perfect.
They'll come up.
That's
or I'm
great.
sure if you search Jason Shapiro Crowded Market Report.
Yep. They can find you. And where is this one that's going to drop this week that you do share with the public, where is that going to be on X? And
No, it'll be on X too, because I think he puts it on X too. But it just came out. It's right
perfect.
here. Here, I can put it. Can I put this in the
Yeah,
chat?
please
Something like
do.
that? How do I
Please
do that?
do. You would type it into, if you see a little space there, are you coming in through X?
I don't know what the hell I'm coming into. I see some chat stuff here, but I don't see where to drop it. Oh, here,
Where to drop
private
it?
chat. No, not private chat.
You can send to me in a DM on X, and then I'll drop it, just to keep it simple. If you want to, just send it to me in DM.
How do I get on this chat?
I think you will have to, if you're on your laptop, you can look for the place at the top right where there's like comments.
Yeah.
This should be right here, but I'm just not sure if that's going to show up on the screen you see. So I would say go
with this
into.
stuff, but it's on X. So
Okay, I'll find it.
If literally you go to Crowded Market Report on YouTube, it just dropped. I see it right here.
Perfect.
And I think he posted on our.
I'll find it. Oh, here it is. I see it. I'm going to retweet it right now.
Yeah, here you go. As mentioned, today's market recap video is published. It's right there on our Twitter thing.
Perfect. Okay, let me just tag you here. Perfect. So I just reposted it to guys. If you're listening now, you can just look at what I just reposted to, so that you can go grab it. Jason, I'm so glad you're willing to come in here today. You are always such a breath of fresh air, man. You really are. You're so down to earth.
Always fun talking to you.
How's
everything in the Aloha State?
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. We have spring coming. I know everybody thinks we always have spring, but we don't get snow except up on the mountain. But it's been a cold winter, cold, wet, and windy. So I'm looking forward to a little spring weather. How about you?
I'm not even going to listen to somebody from Hawaii talk to me about how cold the weather. I lived in Hawaii. I lived in Hawaii. Okay, I know that.
Did you? You lived in Hawaii?
I did.
Where did you live?
I lived in Hawaii, Kai.
You lived on Oahu and Hawaii, Kai? Did we talk about this? I don't remember this.
Yeah, I lived there from 97 to 2000.
Wow. Hawaii, Kai is so beautiful.
Hawaii, Kai is okay.
Okay.
It's just like, I mean, it's beautiful relative to most places in the world.
Yeah.
But I lived in like a little, like whatever, 1-bedroom apartment with my wife and my newborn.
Yeah, that's hard. One bedroom. Oahu is expensive. It's it's a city. I mean not the whole island, but Hawaii Kai is close enough to the city. You know what?
Hawaii Kai looks nothing like it did when I lived there in 1997.
Oh my God, I bet it was totally different then. I'm on the Big Island. Did you ever come to the Big Island?
I have been to the Big Island, yeah.
Okay.
Maybe we to the Big Island one time. I'm a Kauai person, so.
Are you? But Kauai is so much like Big Island. It's just bigger. Big Island is bigger. It's a lot like Kauai. It really is.
It's beautiful, but I don't know.
You're a Kauai guy.
I'm a North Shore of Kauai guy. That's just.
I get that. Everybody finds the island that speaks to
right.
them, and you gotta go.
Yeah, I just need the one. All I need is Tunnels Beach, and
good.
And I'm good. I could spend the rest of my life on Tunnels Beach. Well, I want to die on Tunnels Beach.
All right. Well, I think you're going to have to do a little visit to Hawaii again, Jason. That's what I'm thinking. You're going to have to do a little visit.
It's been so long because my mom was retired there. So I used to.
Wow.
I used to go every year to see my mom.
Yeah.
But now she has left because we had to move her into a facility, and she lives where my brother lives in Seattle, so he can keep an eye on her.
That's
so I got married in Hawaii.
Wow.
We did a pre-honeymoon before our marriage.
Yeah.
With the kids in Kauai for 10 days.
Nice.
And we got married on Makapu'u in Oahu.
Wow, that's amazing.
But we haven't come back because now my mom's not there. So like if I'm going to get on a 12-hour flight, you know what I mean? We'll go to, I like to travel. So there's plenty of places we haven't been. And my wife is all into like France. So, we'll go to France or Italy. We just got back from Italy, or we'll go to Switzerland. Because I lived in Asia when I was younger, I saw all of Asia.
Oh, of course.
I never really saw a lot of Europe. So we've been doing a lot of Europe lately.
Yep.
Um, and again, you get older, man. Those 12-hour flights,
Killer.
the-
They're
the- and so I got to go and sit up front, and that's all fine, except when it's me, my wife, and 4 kids.
It's expensive.
It's a big freaking number, man. You know what I
It's
mean?
a
A really
big number. It's
big
a big,
number.
big
And
number.
like, can I afford it now? Yes, but I came from a place where I could never afford anything like that. So that still sticks in your brain. It's like, oh my God, to spend $20,000 on airfare. It's like, can I do it if I really need to? Yes, but I don't want to.
Yep. No, I think it's a beautiful uh, thing that you are conscious too. Like that is being a person who's responsible with their money. Just because you have it doesn't mean you are obligated to spend it. It's like being respectful to all the hard work you've done to earn that money.
I think that's
Uh,
a good way to put it. Cheap is another way to put it.
well,
But it's just the sort of the irony of my life. You know what I mean? I wasn't able to get rich early like a lot of people, and therefore go out and party and do all kinds of crazy shit. I mean, I did crazy stuff, but without spending so much money. But now that I've made money, it's like now I don't even need it. You know what I mean?
I
I
do.
built my life around not needing money, and now now I've got it, and now I don't even need it, so I don't even know what to do with it. It's not to
Yeah,
say I don't look. We take nice vacations, but
totally.
other than that, the truth is, you know, it's a weird place. It's the same thing, when the
Yeah,
student's ready, the teacher will be there, right?
yeah.
When I didn't need the money anymore, that's when I was able to make it, right?
Isn't it funny how that works like that?
I don't know. I know a lot of people it didn't work that way for. They made money freaking young, and they were able
I
to go
know.
out and do stupid things. But hey, whatever.
Totally.
This is
There's
how-
there's always exceptions, I think, to just show us that, it's a very interesting place, this journey called life, and
It
it
is
doesn't look ever like we think it's gonna look. And that is maybe a
100%.
lesson unto itself.
100%. Life is messy, as I tell my kids.
Absolutely. And it happens, like John Lennon said, when we're busy making other plans.
That's right. That's right, and that's the other point, right? In the midst of all this, you have to remember that.
100% for sure. Well, if and when the Hawaii itch
I'll
becomes
get there.
unbearable,
Yeah, I'll get there.
even though you love Kauai, you come to the big island and you and your family will have the best tour guide you guys have ever known.
Yeah, like
um,
I've never been to New Zealand. I want to get to New Zealand. So if I'm going to get to New Zealand,
yeah,
there's no way I'm doing that in one flight. So I
exactly.
will stop in Hawaii on the way.
Perfect.
That's my
Perfect.
plan.
We've had the volcano incredibly active here. It's been, lava fountain, hundreds of feet in the air. It's been spectacular, Jason. It's
Wow.
been spectacular.
Be
Yeah.
safe.
Yeah. Well, it's far, far from me, so it's okay.
What side are you on? Hilo side.
I'm in Waimea, so west
Oh,
side of the
okay.
islands,
Oh,
closer to the Kona airport.
Kona, yeah.
Hilo's like, it's 2-hour drive away, not a big
Yeah,
deal.
yeah. They
But
always say Kona side, Hilo side, right?
that's right. That's right. So I'm in Waimea, which is upcountry, about 2,800 feet above sea level. So it's nice and cool and
Nice.
not too hot. Yeah. And it's cowboy country. It's all private ranches and paniolos, Hawaiian cowboys, and
Yeah, I've been to the Parker, and I
Parker
watched
Ranch.
and I
Parker
watched
Ranch.
I went to a what do you call that? What do they call it?
The
Rodeo. I
A
went
branding and a rodeo.
I went to
Sure.
a rodeo there, yeah.
Totally. And you might like the book when it comes out. It's called Born of Two Oceans. And it's, my 93-year-old paddling coach's story about Hawaii. And his great grandfather left Portugal, the Madeira Islands, on a whaling ship and jumped off it outside the east side of Hawaii and swam into shore. And that's how his whole family's line got here. So his title, Born of Two Oceans, is, his great grandfather started in the Atlantic and then jumped ship in the Pacific.
Beautiful.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
You got, if ever, Jason, you would hit it off with somebody, it would be Uncle Manny. He is right up your alley. He just says it like it is. He doesn't pull punches. And whether you agree or not, he really doesn't care.
Yeah.
You would like him. He's your cup of tea. You guys
Good.
are cut from the same cloth.
Well, I'll be there.
Good. So good to have you here. Thank you for your time.
All right,
Please,
thank you.
everyone, go follow Jason if you aren't already on X under Crowded Market Report. And please sign up for this week's, because all the lessons he just overviewed for us are in there. Jason, always a pleasure. So glad to have you here.
I
Thank
look
you.
forward to our next combo.
Me too, man. Me too. Peace. Talk
Take
to you soon.
take
Okay.
care.
Aloha. So good. So good. He is just one of a kind. And if you guys haven't read his, the book that he's featured in, I just want to grab it off my shelf here. This is Jack Schwaker's Unknown Market Wizards, and Jason's story. Like, you can see the book, guys. I've got notes all over the place. But Jason's conversation with Jack Schwaker, the subtitle of Jason's conversation with Jack is called The Contrarian. So I would strongly recommend, first of all, you check out everything that Jason has online. But if you want to understand him and how his journey, he talks very forthrightly about how hard his journey was. And for the traders who are struggling, I really feel it helps to have the reality check that it isn't, even for the greats, been necessarily a cakewalk. And I think a lot of times traders, the isolation you guys are up against is real. And you need to hear the stories from those who did endure really difficult pain. And the topic today that I was going to talk about actually was this topic that you find on my X. I basically was trying to speak about this interview with this runner. They call him the smiling runner because he literally smiles in the midst of these grueling long distance races. And I'll say his name probably incorrectly, but Elude Kipchoge. So I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. I'm sorry, I don't know how. But this is his quote. It was in a let me just give credit to the interviewer. So Dr. Chatterjuk interviewed him on his podcast, and it's one of the best interviews I've seen in a really long time. And obviously, because Mr. Chip Cho has English as a second language, he is really taking his time to articulate himself. And Dr. Chatterjuk gives him the space to finish his thought, which is so rare in podcasts. Everybody cuts everybody off all the time. So this is his quote, guys, and I feel it's just a great quote. There's a scene, from the podcast, but I wrote down everything this quote was because it's so profound. This is what the famous runner says. He says, "Pain is part of success. Just convert pain into a positive thing. Success is not coming on a silver platter. You need to work for it. The moment you are working for it, that's how you undergo pain. Pain in your body and even pain in your mind, pain in your thinking. But at the end of it, you'll enjoy if you stick with it, right?" Here's the rest of his quote. "Immediately when he crosses the finish line, he said the pain is no longer there." And he talks about how, everybody comments about how he smiles. Well, everybody else looks like they're ready to cry in these long distance races. And he said the smile is to remind himself to enjoy. He said, "If you feel the pain, please keep the pain. If you feel the pain, then feel it. The more you actually move with the pain, that's where success is." And he talks about being like the best out there. He said, even if you're the best runner, if you're 10 is the phrase he uses, he said, and you are feeling the pain, then everybody else who is not maybe a 10, they're feeling the pain too. He said, but few, this is the most important part, guys, few of them actually know how to handle pain. And it's those who will be successful and move on to another level. So if you feel like you don't know how to handle the pain, I hope you will consider having a conversation with me, because if there is one thing, guys, that I'm doing as a coach, it is to help traders have the ability to handle pain. Pain is not the enemy, guys. The enemy is learning how to surf it. So the key here is, if you don't know how to feel the pain, never mind, regulate the pain. You have got to learn how to do that for you to go the distance. So if you want to have a conversation, I just posted up the calendar that you can, set up an appointment with me. We can talk, see if I can help you. If I can't help you, I'm going to tell you. If I feel I'm not a match for you, I'm going to tell you and refer you to some other coaches. I've got countless coaches in my Rolodex. But if I can help you, then let's get that addressed now, because I'm telling you, once you learn how to be wrong, like Jason just said, and not take it personally, that is when you're going to see yourself up level. All right. What a beautiful conversation that was today. Jason Shapiro, shout out to him. Crowded Market Report. Please sign up for his newsletter, and please go follow him if you haven't already on X, which I'm sure most of you smarty pants are, because he's got so much wisdom to drop. We got to meet at Trays for Cause, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago. So got to drink whiskey with the one and only Jason Shapiro, which was a pretty fantastic night. So I am sending, and he also was helping to teach me how to play poker. And that was actually more fun than drinking the whiskey. That's it, guys. I'm going to shut this down. I'm going to go do a podcast right now with a wonderful trader. I'm so excited to have that podcast and share it with you. And I will see you guys hopefully next Wednesday. In the meantime, please be kind to your mind. And I'll say a hui ho, which means until